Welcome to History with Dr. Brovkin. Today is a very special day for me because I got a message from YouTube that we hit 100,000 views. This is a great achievement and mostly thanks to you, my viewers, and I love you. Thank you very much for joining me and joining this channel. As you know, there are several playlists here, and most of them are on European history or Russian history. And today I would like to start a new playlist, which would be called something like Personal Narratives. The thing is that a lot of you sent very interesting and very beautiful comments to some of my videos, and sometimes you refer to things that happened in your family. And that gave me an idea that I could start this personal narratives beginning with myself, because you deserve to know me a little bit better. So far, I have been just posting, uh, you know, lecture type videos, 15 minutes or so, about specific aspects of Soviet or Russian or European history. And I am a historian, and of course, this is what I do and I love to do. But a lot of times, when I speak about something that happened, something comes to mind that happened in my family, or it occurs to me the stories that I heard from you, from my friends, from others that happened in their families. And this is what I'd like to do now, is to start the personal narratives playlist. Today I shall start with a little episode from my family. As you probably guessed, I am Russian. I was born in the Soviet Union. I came to the United States when I was 22, a long time ago. But today I'd like to speak about my grandpa. And it has to do with Great Terror. And the question under Stalin is, how did people survive? Now, in my videos on the Great Terror, you all know that it concerns, a period of 1937 when 1 million people were shot officially by statistics, and several million were incarcerated in the Gulag, in the concentration camps. So when I was young, I kept asking my grandfather, how did you survive? What did you do? How did you manage to escape? And so this is what he told me. This is his story. My grandfather was 15 in 1920. So he was just a young boy when the Civil War was winding down. He had no idea what anything meant, what communism meant or non-communism. He just knew that he had to study, and he used this opportunity and went to what was called workers' faculties, or рабочий факультет, which were, organizations that made it possible for young kids to have a very snappy, quick education, because the party had this policy of promoting young communist cadres to replace the old bourgeois specialists. So he made a very, very quick career. By the end of the 1920s, he finished the school. He became very good at languages, just like I am. He spoke several languages, and then the career went up and up and up. And when my mother was born in 1932, they lived in Ukraine, and he was in an Institute of Foreign Languages. And my mother told me that he had this kind of a military style jacket, exactly as Stalin appeared on the photograph. So he was an up and coming kind of beneficiary of the upward mobility of Soviet system. And then my mother told me when she was 4 or 5, they lived in a very, very fancy apartment. She told me it was 4 or 5 rooms, and they had a maid, and a chauffeured car was bringing him to his institute, and they were pretty comfortably set up in this time. And so then the 1936 comes, and my grandfather told me that he is beginning to see that people are getting arrested, that the atmosphere is getting tenser with the trial of Kamenev and Zinoviev. And again, I keep asking him, what did you do and how did you react, and so on and so forth. So he told me that he was puzzled and worried, and he did not know what to do, because the atmosphere was of denunciation, as we have heard in all these lectures and books, people were denouncing others as former Trotskyites or suspicious or not being enthusiastic enough about the speech of Comrade Stalin and so forth. So the terror was just getting wider and wider, and more people were arrested as enemies of the people. And so I asked him, how did you survive? What did you do? And this is his solution. He's a very smart man, my grandfather. So he said that he went to the party meeting, and he said that the party told us that the first task of a communist is to study and study and study. And he quoted Comrade Lenin. And so he gave like a small speech about how he wants to be, struggling for the task of the communist construction and follow in the footsteps of Lenin and Comrade Stalin. And the first task is not to do a career and not to become important, but to continue his education for the betterment of Soviet people. And so he said that even though I am a director of the institute, I would like to continue my study and get real education at a graduate school in Leningrad. And so this is what he did. He applied, he was accepted, and in 1936, he and his family, which means my mother and her little sister, moved to Leningrad. From a 5-room apartment and a maid, he switched to a small dormitory room. And again, my mother kept telling me that at first they lived in a dormitory room, and then they moved to a small communal apartment, where it was typical for the 1930s and 50s and 60s communal apartments, where one family lives in one room, and then there's a common kitchen and one bathroom for all the families. But he was very happy because he kind of sat there, lied low. He was not noticeable. He didn't have any maid. He was not important. He was just a student. And then he told me that a lot of people who stayed got arrested and exposed as hidden enemies of the people, but he survived. As I said, he had 2 daughters. One of them was my mother. He was very lucky because arrests kept going, but then comes 38, 39, and then 41, the war, and with the war a lot of dislocation and chaos, and a lot of things were moved, and the archives and the police. It was much easier to get lost during the war. He volunteered to the war. He fought during the entire Great Patriotic War, and then came back in 1945, and 5 years later my mother got married and I was born. So this is a very short story. I have many more, and please write to me if you like these personal narratives, and if you have something to contribute, write to me too, and I will tell your story, and we will have a wonderful playlist about personal narratives. Thank you very much. Tell your friends and subscribe to History with Dr. Brovkin. Bye-bye.